I welcome you to the reflection of the 30th Sunday in Ordinary Tide, Year A. And the theme of our reflection this week is love of God and love of neighbor, the hallmark of our Christian religion. To be truly religious is to love God and to love our neighbor. And so when one truly loves God, others around become lovable. Our Christian religion is truly a religion of relationship between God and man to his fellow man. And so when one Christian religion is devoid of right relationship between God and man, then men within themselves become rotten and defiled. Dear friends, let us look into the readings to see their relevance to us as Christians. In the first reading from the book of Exodus, chapter 22, here we see that the covenant between God and the people of Israel gave them the opportunity of enjoying a civilized and a perfect society. An opportunity that made them civilized. And so this law is a law where the love of God is very clear and transparent. A law that is much concretely concerned for the poor, the widow, and the oppressed in the society. And so the connection now in the second reading, St. Paul now congratulated his audience in Thessalonica. Why? Because he congratulated them on the positive effect of their example. These people received the gospel and immediately turned from their idol worshipping to being good Christians. Turned from this idol worshipping to the life of the gospel. And so in this their life, they became models to other Christians. And in their lives, they overcame temptations with joy. So St. Paul, seeing the positive effect of this lifestyle, of their example, congratulated them. Dear friends, love was seen transparently visible in their lifestyle. And so in the gospel reading today from the Gospel of Matthew chapter 22, Christ now gave us the core of all his teaching. He summed up the whole law into a great commandment, the love of God and the love of neighbor. And so Christ invites us to prioritize this great commandment, prioritize what our religion is all about and what our faith is all about. And what is it? Loving God truly and loving our neighbor. Dear friends, these readings of today have their importance and their relevance in our lives as Christians. And what are they? First of all, Christ, in giving us the great commandment, in summarizing this old law to the love of God and the love of neighbor, defined what religion is all about. It defines religion as truly relationship between God and man to his neighbor. Dear friends, how do we love God? We love God by keeping his commandments written in the scriptures. And so how do we love our neighbor? By what the church teaches us of the corporal works of mercy, visiting the sick, giving shelter to the homeless, giving water to the thirsty, and so feeding the hungry, and so there are other things. So dear friends, to love our neighbor is to truly manifest that love we have for God in our relationship with our neighbor. And so it gives us the opportunity of not oppressing or extorting the poor. It gives us the opportunity of not suppressing the poor or the innocent. It also gives us the opportunity of seeing God in our relationship with man, seeing God in our fellow man. Why? Because all of us, all human beings, are created in the image and likeness of God. Secondly, dear friends, in the gospel reading, we see the Pharisees coming to trap God by asking him which is the great commandment. Now, Matthew, the evangelist Matthew, records this attempt of the Pharisees as a return of attack, coming to trap him when they discovered he has trampled upon the attempts of the Sadducees. So they came with this question to trap Christ. And so the evangelist Matthew records that Christ with his answer trampled also upon their attempt to attack him. Dear friends, as Christians, we will not run away from temptations. Temptations are part of our Christian journey as Christians. And so, St. Paul calls us in the second reading that when we become one with God, when we align our lifestyles with that of the gospel, like the people of the Thessalonians, then we will trample upon all our temptations, and none will bring us down, and none will see to our downfall, but we will cross them and keep crossing every temptation in our Christian journey. And so, dear friends, now in the first reading gives us an opportunity of concretely having concern for the poor. For it says that when the cry of the poor or the widow comes to me, I, the Lord, will listen to them. So it gives us the opportunity of not trampling upon the poor, the opportunity of giving concern to the poor, giving concern for the widow, and then giving concern for the hungry and the innocent in our society. As leaders of tomorrow, our politicians, our parents, and our leaders, the first reading today is inviting us not to trample upon the innocent, not to extort the innocent or the poor or the widow, not to trample upon them and not to attack them. It gives us the opportunity as Christians, as leaders, as teachers, and as parents to see the innocent, to see the poor as our brothers, and not trample upon them or not show them, you are there and I am here. We are called to use every opportunity we have as Christians to love our neighbor. For when we truly love God, everyone around us will be loving. When we truly love God, we will not trample upon the poor in our society. We will not attack the poor, and we will show love. And when we show love, then everyone around us will enjoy our presence, will enjoy our tenure as politicians and as political leaders. And so we should avoid trampling or extorting or oppressing the poor. For first reading says that when their cry comes to me, I, the Lord, will listen to them. And the implication is that when the cry of the poor comes to the Lord, and when it is due, God will visit these people. God will visit you, and when God visits you, you have every explanation to tell. The experience will be better imagined than explained. And so, dear friends, Christ calls us today. He invites us that as Christians, this great commandment He has given to us, the love of God and the love of our neighbor, we should prioritize them, pencil in, engage it, and use it as value, as precious gifts He has given to us. Making our world a better place becomes our priority. And so let us spread this great love of God and love of our neighbor, such that when we do it, we shall have made our world a better place, and our country, Nigeria, will become a good place to live, a comfortable place, and the future of our youth will be very glaring. May the good Lord bless all our attempts, all our efforts as Christians of making our world a better place, of loving God and loving our neighbor, making all these efforts. May God make these efforts an effort that He will be glorified.